We all know that geriatric mutant ninja turtle Klaus Schwab is continually pushing for a new system of global governance. And now Russell Brand is pushing for a new system of global governance.
What is required is a new system of global governance.
What the frick is going on here? People ask me all the time, "Hey Brian, do you really use that keto elevate stuff and does it really work?" The answer is yes and yes. Never in my entire life have I lost body fat so quickly. Not even in my prime at 25, which is over 25 years ago. I'm approaching 54 this year. If you want to support the channel and do your health a favor, grab some with my link in the description. All right, we're going to get to Russell Brand in a minute, but I think it's worth noting that one of the problems with the world is the centralization, accumulation, and expansion of power. A few people at the top somehow manage to swindle the people at the bottom rung of the socioeconomic food chain to vote for them so that they can control things for everybody. So this power vacuum appears to form, or at least we're indoctrinated to believe there's a power vacuum. And the most dastardly people on the planet assume those positions of power to the detriment of the people. At least that's how real life plays out. But think about this for a second. No human being with a moral compass has any desire to violate the will of another. And yet, that's exactly what rulers do. They live to violate the free will of other people. They actually believe that they have the moral right to rule others and that those at the bottom have the moral obligation to obey those rulers or be, in the minds of the psychopaths at least, rightly punished. But tyrants, otherwise known as governors, don't come to power by promising oppression. They promise health and wealth and benefits and opportunities for a new life. They sell people on the idea that everything will be better for everybody if only they were in charge, if only they were elected to call the shots. They tell us it's necessary in the order of things for everybody to be ruled. So necessity becomes their campaign slogan, which then becomes the argument of these tyrants and the subsequent creed of the slave class. Only the slave class doesn't believe they're the slave class. They believe they're the masters with the power to control these rulers because they can vote. It's all convoluted. As Albert Camus wrote, the welfare of the people in particular has always been the alibi of tyrants, and it provides a further advantage of giving the servants of tyranny a good conscience. Why? Because the servants ironically think that in voting for power-hungry megalomaniacs, they're doing humanity a favor and they're in the driver's seat. After all, how could we ever get along in life without the ceaseless violence, brutality, and threats of the state? How could we build those roads, those bridges, those schools? How could we have clean running water unless we have violent psychopaths running amok? This is why at all costs we need to avoid the situation of a global governance, which is heavily promoted by the authors of The Great Reset and the Fourth Industrial Revolution psychos of the World Economic Forum. They want global governance. That's their goal. And that brings us to Russell Brand, a well-spoken, articulate chap who for years has been deeply embedded as a paid employee for all sorts of corporate media and Hollywood interests. Can people change and abandon old ways? Of course they can. And while Brand has a lot of good, thought-provoking content for consideration, it doesn't escape the notice of viewers that his presence on social media, specifically on YouTube, is not only immune from shadow banning algorithms, he's actually being promoted and recommended by the people in Silicon Valley. And this is always a massive red flag that just can't be ignored. And I'm not calling for the censorship and shadow banning of Russell Brand or anybody. Censorship always violates the will of the masses who want to hear unapproved voices as it forces those voices into silence. But when somebody's promoted by the very social media companies who speak out against him and label him a far right-wing kook, you gotta wonder what's really going on behind the curtain. One of the key components of an effective psychological operation, which is intended to get the masses to believe things that are not true, is diversion. Get a likable, articulate personality with a lot of energy, saying a lot of good anti-establishment things, which makes checking into this cult of personality attractive, and then have that same person slip him a proverbial Mickey. This may be what we're seeing right here with Brand. There are a lot of examples I could give, but let's just stick with this one. Listen carefully to what Brand says here and see if any serious red flags go off for you.
And whether it's Putin or Biden or Saddam or Hitler or whichever leader you want to list, there have always been people at the top of these pinnacles of power that are detached from the realities that they generate and create. And this time, I believe, is no different. If you want to live without the threat of war, it seems to me that you have to look at what the causes of war really are. The consolidation of power, the ability to embark on imperialist missions, the ability to cut loose from the will of the ordinary people that you govern. The truth is that Ukrainian people, Russian people, American people, Saudi people, Icelandic people, Senegalese people all have more in common with one another than they have in common with the people that govern them. What is required is a new system of global governance that somehow comprises the local and the global in a way that gives us the ability to stand up to serious external threats and simultaneously govern our small local communities in a meaningful way. These are the charges that we are tasked with. Understanding complex situations where there is no simple, easy fix, no easy off-the-peg opinion that demands of us personal reflection, that demands of us that we personally have good values, that demands of us that we're willing to listen to other people that we disagree with. Of course, that's not going to help Ukrainian people right now. Frankly, I don't know what is going to help Ukrainian people right now. My hope is that together we can start to cooperate with our individual awakening, our social and communal awakening in ways that are meaningful so that we can begin to topple first in our own minds and then eventually in our societies the kind of systems of governance that inevitably lead to this kind of conflict, conflagration and neglect so that we as ordinary people of the globe can begin to live differently so that we can prevent these kind of escalations ever occurring.
Now, I got to admit, a lot of this is well said. These psychos at the pinnacle of power are detached from the realities they create for the rest of us, and this is all by design. Brand says that one of the problems and causes of war is the tyrant's ability to consolidate power and embark on imperialistic missions. And I agree with that. But then Brand lays down as the solution to the consolidation of power and imperialistic missions a new system of global governance.
What is required is a new system of global governance.
So here's an obvious question. If the consolidation of power is the problem, how can a new system of global governance, which is exactly what the World Economic Forum promotes, be the solution? It can't. They're both the same thing. This is the kind of poison Brand has slipped into the drinks of everybody who comes to his bar for truth. And I'm not saying that there's no value in what Brand is saying ever, but if at the end of the day he's pushing the same global solutions as Klaus Schwab, then every shred of criticism Brand has against the New World Order unravels and could reveal him as a diversionary master who's playing into their hands, maybe even being used by them. And with this alone, he's leading his audience down a wrong path. And you kind of got to admit that in some ways, those who speak more truth and slip in those dangerous little lies are more lethal because it sweeps people who've attained a different level of consciousness into the globalist dragnet. Remember, to govern simply means to control. And when governments are doing this and people in positions of power are doing this, they're controlling people against their will. So This new system of global governance that Brand says is required is the same as a new system of global control. What Brand is calling for is for everybody on the globe to be controlled by people who have consolidated power after he just condemned the consolidation of power as a cause for all these wars. Here's the deal. You own yourself. No one else can legitimately lay claim to your life or your property. The World Economic Forum's intent is to undo that reality and assume total control of your life under the Great Reset, Fourth Industrial Revolution. So the big red flags I have about Brand are that he's highly favored by Team YouTube and all social media platforms, and he's pushing the same destructive Great Reset agenda that our buddy Klaus Schwab pushes. And some point to the 33 that he has tattooed on his wrist, and I don't know what the story is there, but people can make these stupid decisions in the past and then they grow out of them. So I'd have to find out exactly why he's got a 33 on his wrist and if he still holds to that. What I'm more concerned about is what he's propagating right now. So Russell Brand, is he a crafty agent of the establishment that he often criticizes, or is he a person who's genuinely trying to seek truth and share it with others? Leave your thoughts about this for the world and the global thought police in the comments section below. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to my channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know, and don't forget to subscribe to my private email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. I'll see you in the next heavily censored shadow ban video. With all the crazy stated plans of the Great Reset, the currency reset, and even the food reset, it's not a matter of if the store shelves are going to clear and there's a lack of food. The question is when. You need to get long-term storable food. It doesn't matter if it's from me or you just go to the store and you buy food. Just grab dry, storable food while you can. If you want to get it from me, you're going to support the channel and you're going to help yourself out because my link has a discount code embedded within it. You can check that out in the description below.